Hello guys, welcome back to VP Reacts and I'm Vicky.
Peter here.
Welcome to today's reaction episode. And today you are back with something interesting about Threedognight. I think this is like their documentary or something because it's titled What Really Happened? Rise and Fall of the Early 70s biggest band. Yeah. What happened? What really happened? The rise and fall of the early 70s biggest band. So I think it's their documentary or just a video telling their story. So let's find out what it has about, what it has for us. This was suggested to us by Dan. So thank you so much, Dan, for your suggestion. Thank you so much for your support. So
exactly.
Let's enjoy it.
And I think we are really interested to be seeing or maybe exploring more of the what happened in the 70s. I've realized like in the 70s you guys had a lot because it was end of the Beatlemania, the Beatles, then it was the start of the like a lot of the band have been doing like the U2, they were there. It's concentrated in the late 60s, early 70s, and then for days I'm also noticing that the Threedognight are also in that bracket.
Yes.
Ooh,
We've been doing that.
This is much interesting, guys. So we do this each and every day. Good vibes, good timeless tunes. Are subscribed to this featured or maybe to be notified wherever I post your favorite, and also feel free to share what can we do next, bringing us on board to be featured next on our Buy Me Coffee link. It's a link on our channel description and also join Patreon. But for today's episode, let's find out on what happened with the Threedognight.
From 1969 to 1974, nobody made more hit records or sold more concert tickets. 21 top 40 songs plus 3 #1 singles, including the top-selling single of the year in 1971. So it really begs the question, what the hell happened? We'll stick around and we'll chronicle the people, places, and inside stories that catapulted this band to the very top of the heap. The rise, the fall, and the aftermath of Threedognight. You know, I think the Threedognight story really starts with Danny Hutton. And he was actually born in Ireland, but moved to Boston as a very young child. And then as a boy, his mother and him moved here to LA. His first showbiz gig, somewhat prophetically, was loading and unloading boxes of records at Disney Studios, which is right up the street in Burbank.
Oh.
So while he was here, he happened to see an overseas trade publication, and it had a picture in it that just stopped him in his tracks. And of course, it was a photograph of the Beatles. So before anyone here in LA knew who they were, Danny started touting them as the next big thing. And when they hit, of course, he was right, and everyone wanted to come to him for advice. So a good friend of Danny's named Kim Foley, who was a rock impresario himself, told Danny that Hanna-Barbera here wanted to get into rock music, and they were looking for an A&R man producer. So Danny figured, hey, I'll give it a shot, and he came here. The interview took a strange turn when they asked him to go in the other room and write a pop song, and he had 20 minutes to do it. He came back, and lo and behold, he got the job. But it was here that he honed his skills producing and writing songs for the cartoons, until one day they decided to release a song with Danny singing as Danny Hutstone on the Flintstones, which was their most popular cartoon at the time.
So Danny is a member of Threedognight.
Threedognight, yeah.
Oh, and it started with him. The Threedognight started with Danny.
I think it has not yet started.
I'm saying like he was the one who like thought of the idea.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned that the Threedognight started with Danny, and then he started giving us Danny's history.
Yeah.
Like his childhood, how he started, all that, to where we are at now.
It was such a hit that Danny appeared on American Bandstand with Dick Clark to do the song, but being a teen idol really wasn't in the cards for him. He was after something a little bigger. So right here, Hanna-Barbera. So this is the famous Whiskey a Go-Go, and Corey Wells had come out from Buffalo, New York with his band. Soon enough they had cut a record, and they actually had become the house band here at the Whiskey.
Okay.
So the Enemies were
The noises are quite high.
Yeah.
I think I can't get him so well.
playing a private party here that was being thrown by Liz Taylor and Richard Burton, and to say the least, it was a star-studded affair. Cher happened to be there, and she was so impressed with Corey's voice that she asked the Enemies to open up for her and Sonny on tour. And on that tour, there was another act that had a single out called Roses and Rainbows, and of course, that was Danny Hutton. And believe it or not, the tour was the first time Danny had actually performed live in front of an audience. But one thing led to another, and when they got off tour, Danny produced the Enemies' next single, which was Hey Joe. But it was obvious to Danny that Corey Wells would be the perfect singer for the outrageous idea he had of putting three singers together in a single group, three lead singers. Anyways, the Whiskey A Go-Go.
After coming to California on a basketball scholarship from his hometown in the Bronx, New York, Chuck Negron had been singing with various groups at college and was good enough to eventually get signed by Columbia Records as Chuck Rondell. But after a couple years, it really hadn't gone anywhere and his career had stalled. By this time, Danny Hutton's stock had really climbed. He was hanging out with the music scenesters of the day. He was practically best friends with Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, who had just finished Pet Sounds. Chuck had met Danny Hutton, and Danny had actually hired him as a backup singer for a song he was producing. But not long after, Chuck was off for a few weeks with several other acts on a very low-level package music tour. When he got back, he found out that Danny Hutton had been trying to reach him, and he asked Chuck up to his house in Laurel Canyon. When he arrived, Danny was there with Corey Wells, and they all started jamming together on You Just Keep Me Hanging On, which, unbeknownst to the others, was one of Chuck's signature songs when he'd been on the road. And there was just no denying the chemistry. The three lead singers' idea had finally taken root, and it was about to pay off in a very large fashion.
So Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys had been looking to do a project outside of his band, and when Danny Hutton told him what he had going, his idea, Brian got very excited. He wrote a couple of songs that he wanted to produce for them. He took him to the studio here at Wally Heider, and they recorded Darlin' and Time to Get Alone. And the recordings were coming out so good that Brian wanted to sign him to his new brother's record label, and he wanted to call the group Redwood. Don't ask me why, I have no idea. So the other Beach Boys turned up at the studio one night, and they were far from happy. They didn't understand why Brian was giving such good songs away to a bunch of unknowns like this when they could be making money on their own at it. They were very short-sighted. So after several minutes of browbeating by the Beach Boys, Brian came in from the other room, and he had to give the guys the bad news. He had to rescind their record deal. It was really short-sighted of him, to say the least, because if you think about what might have happened with Threedognight on the record label, it would have made them even bigger millionaires had that happened. So for whatever it's worth, Chuck Negron did say that Brian was a sweet guy no matter what, no matter how eccentric he was. And I think truer words have never been spoken. But anyways, this is the old Wally Heider Studio 3 right here. What's left of it.
So did Brian join also the Threedognight?
Yeah, I'm trying to get something like that.
Yeah, me too, but I'm really struggling to hear him out.
It's now a restaurant. Cool. Corey, Danny, and Chuck decided that Threedognight shouldn't just be a singing group, they should be a band. So they went out and they recruited some musicians. Bassist Joe Shermy, keyboardist Jimmy Greenspoon, drummer Floyd Sneed, great drummer, and a guitarist named Ron Morgan.
Okay.
It wasn't long before they started playing gigs that they realized that guitarist Morgan had terrible stage fright and he wasn't going to cut it, so the search was on for a replacement. Bassist Joe Shermy was staying here at the beautiful Vine Lodge Hotel right here, and it was right next door to an old dilapidated house that Threedognight rehearsed in. And there was so little electricity.
So the hotel has been there for like the first since from the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's looking like it's
A
just
new one.
yeah. I think some good renovations were done.
There, they had to run extension cords from the room here at the hotel, to power the rehearsals. But there was a guitarist that Joe Shermy and Corey Wells had seen play a year or so previous. They thought he was great. His name was Michael Alsop, and he was from Modesto, California. And Joe Shermy decided to come back to the motel right here and make a call at the payphone. And as he was walking, he came across a U-Haul out there with a band gathered around it, and he struck up a conversation, and they mentioned that they were from Modesto, California. So, of course, Joe asked them if they knew Michael Alsop, and they started cracking up. They said, yeah, he's in our band and he's in his room. And that was basically how the last piece of the Threedognight puzzle came together. Michael Alsop was no dummy. He was a 21-year-old, very talented guitar player. He jumped ship from his band here a couple days later and joined up with Threedognight here at the beautiful Vine Lodge Hotel. Pool looks very inviting, doesn't it?
No pool.
I think your question has been answered. You see, it's now verified it's from the 70s.
Yeah, even the pool is dried up.
Yeah, but it was looking really amazing at the time.
Yeah, but from 70s still days, and then
Pool looks very.
it's looking like that.
I'm sure at that time there were not even one in our country.
Very inviting, doesn't it?
In 1968, the 7-member band was complete, but they still needed a name.
7-member band.
Yeah.
Wow. So after the three, it started with like a three, then they had to look for
They
the
looked for
guitarist,
yeah.
Michael got in, like until they're now 7.
For gigs, they'd been using one-offs like Tricycle, but it just wasn't cutting it. That's when Danny Hutton's girlfriend, June Fairchild, told them about something she'd read about Aborigines, and how when it was cold they would sleep with a dingo, and if it was especially cold they'd sleep with 2 or even 3, and that's how the name Threedognight came about. So after playing around town and garnering a healthy following,
Like, how did the name came about?
He mentioned that Danny had his girlfriend mention about, I don't know what, that was I don't
Listen
know.
to it again.
especially cold they'd sleep with 2 or even 3, and Fairchild told them about something she'd read about Aborigines, and how when it was cold they would sleep with a dingo, and if it was especially cold they'd sleep
Dingo.
Yeah.
They will sleep
I
with a
think
dingo.
on the.
With. What?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get.
Hutton's girlfriend June Fairchild told them about something she'd read about Aborigines, and how when it was cold they would sleep with a dingo, and if it was
With a dingo. What is dingo?
especially cold they'd sleep with 2 or even 3, and that's how the name Threedognight came about. So after playing around town,
Now sleeping with a dingo, they will sleep with 2 or even 3, and that's how the name came. So you can tell us what is a dingo. What is it? Okay. Am I saying it right?
I'm even wondering, are you saying it right? Because I didn't get the name right. Look at you.
Something like that, but you guys know about it, so you can
Yeah.
please clarify for us and then tell us like what is it, or
Right.
have you ever had that story?
For me, I've gotten it like they used to come to record at the girls' place, and then they had no space. Maybe they used to share a bed 3-3. That's what I've gotten.
and garnering a healthy following, Threedognight rented the Troubadour to do a showcase for prospective record companies. They ended up signing with ABC Dunhill and soon got down to the business of putting together their debut record with producer Gabriel Meckler, who was fresh off making Born to Be Wild with Steppenwolf.
So in his early years in New York City, Chuck Negron actually spent some time in the Brill Building on Broadway as a singer, and what he learned there was very specific, that you're only as good as your songs. So although Corey Wells...
I just love the way he's taking us to the places where the Three Dogs Night spend.
Yeah.
Like if it's a building, he's taking us through
He's
it.
there, by the way.
And I'm wondering, like, wow, that's so impressive. Like buildings from the 70s are just still there. Or when was this documentary released? Let me just check it out because I feel like it was kind of 2 years ago. Wow. And then, oh, That's so impressive.
By the way.
Wells and Danny Hutton were perfectly capable of writing material for the group. They opted for outside writers, and often these writers were unknowns, and often the songs were songs that had come out but not charted. So their first big song was a song called One, and it was written by Harry Nilsson. It had come out on his album Aerial Ballet, and Threedognight got a hold of it, and they did a very rockin' R&B version of it with Chuck Negron's pleading vocal on it. Black and White had previously been recorded by Pete Seeger in the 50s and then Sammy Davis Jr. But when Threedognight was touring in Britain in the early 70s, they heard a band called the Greyhounds do it in a reggae version, and they thought it could be a hit in the United States. Danny Hutton sang lead on it, and I think it may have been the first song ever to go #1 that was a reggae song in the US. And fun fact, the lyrics of the song were written by a guy named David Arkin, who happens to be the father of actor Alan Arkin. So from the opening chords of Mama Told Me Not to Come, it's obvious it's a Randy Newman song, but at the time hardly.
I'm trying to see like these shop. Is it selling some records,
Yeah,
some
so
CDs, some
tape.
tapes
Yeah.
of songs from different eras?
Yeah, and it's arranged on the musical genre.
Yeah, I'm seeing rock video and
rock
then
and pop.
yeah. Wow. Oh, I've never seen something like this. Oh my God, this is so interesting. And then what I've also heard about him mentioning that the band, I think the band would he mentioned also the band depended on writing songs they could like buy people to write for them, and also he mentioned that they could do most of the like versions, like if the song has been sung in this version like this, they could do a reggae version of it.
Version,
Like do just another version of a song that is already sung by someone else.
That's creative too.
Yeah.
Anybody knew who Randy Newman was. The lead on this one was sung by Corey Wells, and one of the more interesting things about the song was it was originally released as an Eric Burdon and the Animals song. After Mama Told Me Not to Come hit #1, Randy Newman gave Corey Wells a call, and he said, I just want to thank you for putting my kids through college. And I think that there's a lot of songwriters out there that owe at least their first couple mortgages to Threedognight. And I find it almost outrageous that these guys are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was a lot of hit singles that went through these gentlemen. But anyways, maybe we can figure that out. So. This wonderfully typical California strip mall used to be the location of the legendary American Recording Studios, and it was owned by producer Richie Podolor and his engineer Bill Cooper, and it's where Threedognight cut virtually all their songs, all their hits. You know, interestingly, the band's biggest hit almost didn't happen. Hoyt Axton, who had written Pusherman for Steppenwolf, physically came down to the studio one night and pitched a song. Chuck Negron wasn't here. It was just Corey and Danny that he pitched it to, and they passed on it. And a couple weeks later, Hoyt came back again, played the same song for the same two guys, and they passed on it again. They just couldn't get past the first line of the song. The third time Hoyt came by the studio to pitch the song, they had all had a few drinks first. And Hoyt had changed the first line of the song to Jeremiah Was a Prophet. And this time Chuck Negron happened to be there. He dug the song, but he didn't like the first line. So, of course, Hoyt changed it back to the famous Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog. So Joy to the World spent 6 weeks at #1, and it was the biggest selling song of 1971. And I think other than the Beatles' Hey Jude, it may have the most recognizable opening line of any song ever. Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog.
That's Joy to the World. I think we should give it a listen.
By the way, we will listen to Black and White, the reggae version now, no? If I'm not wrong.
And also, these are different songs.
These are different songs.
Yeah. The first song, of reggae that
the reggae.
he mentioned, and then there's another song, Joy to the World, that also he mentioned that it was having the first interest, I don't know, amazing line.
Yeah, intro
after the Hey Jude of the Beatles. Yeah. So I felt that is interesting.
By the way,
Bullfrog. But anyways, it happened right here at American Recording, and I just found this right here too. That's written in stone right there. That's Bill Cooper, Mike Curb, And Mike Curb, of course, started Curb Records and was our lieutenant governor here for a while in California. But anyways, right here, American Records.
Yeah, California. Well, what I really also enjoyed, it's just away from what we are talking about, but I love the streets. They're so clean.
Exactly.
They're not congested. Like, have you guys come to a country, the capital city? I've heard him mention California, or California is not like a big city. I don't know.
Even here in our country, even small towns have.
Yeah, they're so congested. You find like vehicles all over, people all over, buildings all over.
But I think the rural-urban migration is the one affecting us this much.
Yeah, because most people are coming from the rural coming to the city. So the cities are so congested.
Yeah.
But you guys, like, I love the streets there. So I feel like even you can just literally come and sit there and no one will disturb you.
They look beautiful.
Yeah.
So by 1972, Threedognight was a machine. They were well-oiled and slick. They were clearly an AM singles band, and their image leaned a little more towards the establishment than not. But I think the machine behind the machine, the managers, the publicists, the record company, wanted to squeeze every penny they could out of these guys, and they just worked them too hard. And the guys were either too tired or just too effed up to put up much of a fight about it. And pretty soon they had them doing corny stunts like delivering their album via an armored car, or waving from some cheesy float here at the Rose Bowl, which is exactly what they did on New Year's Day in 1972. But the band made the best of it, and it's even rumored that onlookers would toss them the occasional joint as they passed by. But the Dogs still did have a couple tricks left in it, and in 1972 they released Black and White, and then in 73 they followed it up with their last big hit, Shambhala.
Shambhala. Oh,
what if you could make it?
I think we did the Shambhala episode.
Oh wow.
Yeah?
Yeah, I remember that title.
Yeah.
Though I've not heard him right, but
I think the song, if it's not it, but I know the song. If you when you'll be listening to it, you'll vibe with it very, very well.
Now we're in Laurel Canyon, and this is where Danny Hutton used to live. Still does, I believe. And he partied here with basically everybody in Hollywood. As a matter of fact, Brian Wilson was his best friend, and I think he was best man at his wedding. You know, I don't think it's any big secret that, with the exception of Corey Wells, everyone in Threedognight partied like there was no tomorrow. And I think it's pretty well chronicled that Joe Shermy, Danny Hutton, and Chuck Negron had to leave the group at one time or another because of it. As for Chuck Negron, it spiraled out of...
But they mentioned like Danny was the one who began the group, so he had to leave again.
Yeah, because of others are being more drunk.
Because of that. Oh, that's interesting.
Control, and he became addicted to heroin. And in 1981, his friend Joy Miller rented this house here on Wonderland, and it became Chuck's virtual upscale shooting gallery, and he came here pretty much every night to fix. All right, so here it is. Right here.
Oh,
and
wow.
if Joy Miller's name sounds familiar, it's because she was one of the 4 people that was murdered here at the 4 on the Floor Wonderland murders on July 1st, 1981. And as a matter of fact, it was Chuck's wife.
1981. Guys, Shamwa, you know our guy is just brushing it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and that was Chuck's wife.
Yeah. Among the 4 people who were
murdered. Yeah, that was Chuck's
Wife, Julia, at the time, who discovered the bodies.
Oh. Julia wife is Julia was Chuck's wife who discovered the bodies of Joe. Is it Joe? Yeah, Joe.
Okay.
As for Chuck, it would be another long and very harrowing decade before he was able to beat addiction and get his life back together.
By the time Threedognight played LA's Greek Theater in 1976, pretty much the entire band had left, and only Corey Wells and Chuck Negron were left. And since then, different iterations of Threedognight have played, but never in their original form. Joe Shermy, Jimmy Greenspoon, Floyd Sneed, and Corey Wells have passed on. But Danny Hutton and guitarist Michael Alsop still tours Threedognight, and Chuck Negron still performs as a solo act. And if you haven't read Chuck's book yet, Three Dog Nightmare, you need to. It's a really great read. You know, I'll say it again, when everything's said and done, these guys sold more records, performed for more people in their time than anybody else, and I find it a little outrageous that they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But anyways, enough of the ranting here. This is a part of the show where I shamelessly ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. And by the way, if you like classic rock, we got a bunch of stuff in our library.
I've seen your songs, Shambhala.
That I think you might appreciate. So I'd like to thank Threedognight for bringing us such great music and a great story too. And I apologize in advance to Chuck if I butchered your name too much. Oh well. But for Tim, I'd like to thank you for hanging out with us. And remember, one is the loneliest number, so go out and have yourself a party. Be kind to one another. And by the way, we're having a partial eclipse of the sun as we end right here, so peace out.
That place literally looks like our home.
The
The environment,
the green.
the grains, the mount. It's like a hilly place.
Yeah.
It looks like our
But
home.
he has given
My
us
grandma's place.
okay. On this episode, the narrator has given us a little bit good history of the Threedognight. But sincerely speaking, I didn't get who is who.
Yeah, I just know of Chuck,
Danny.
Corey, Danny. I heard
there's
of
a girl,
Michael. I heard of
Jane
Lord.
or somebody.
Who?
Jane or John, Jane. There's the girl who said that found the
Oh, no, that was not. I think she
The
was not
wife.
part of
the band
Yeah, she was a wife to Chuck.
to Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay, but
something like that, yeah.
as we do more of the Threedognight, I'm sure we'll be now knowing them.
Yeah, but I think the three main were just Chuck, Corey, and Danny.
Danny. Yeah,
Then
okay.
the rest were, I just didn't have their names right. But I think the three were the main. And also
Yeah.
at the end, he mentioned that the two, Chuck and Corey, were the one who remained at the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mentioned that the rest, I don't know, lost their lives. Then I think the other two, or
And
I
there's
didn't
one
get
who's
that.
Chuck's book. There is Chuck's book, The Threedognight
Oh,
Nightmare.
yeah.
Chuck is continuing with his solo career.
Yes,
So it's an
yes.
amazing band. I think we are much sure jumping to it more on this channel. So guys, first subscribe. Let's give our thanks to Dan for making this happen here. And guys, it's amazing to be jumping to your favorite band back then.
Yeah, we love
and what
listening
we
to their
shared.
music,
Yeah.
and as much as listening to their music, we love also knowing how
Yeah.
listening to their background stories, their documentaries. It helps us to know them better, and when we listen to their music, knowing them, it's such an amazing thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was really helpful. Though I think we shall revisit to another documentary of
If
them.
there is, to know
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
who, and maybe more
Deeper to know them deeper, because I feel like he was taking us through the streets. There were some noises when he get to the building. There's some noise, so at some point you can't get him well. But I love his way of just telling the story.
Yeah,
like,
he has a
a
real
unique
raw
way.
evidence here,
Yeah.
like this is where they were. I like that also.
And
too.
taking us to where the artists were living, where they recorded, like
It means he has a good research.
yeah, that's really well.
So guys, don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned.
Share what we have not shared, clarify where we are wrong. We will appreciate. See you. Bye bye.